Greetings all. This live video is coming to you from the Swamimalai Kumbakonam area in Tamil Nadu, in the far south of India. And I'm in a Victorian era former mint, a beautiful Raj period building from the late 1800s. You can just see a tiny bit of the architecture, I guess. And we're finally getting to a new VBT verse, and that is verse 44, continuing the spaciousness practices, and these do continue for some time. So if you've been following the VBT in real time, then you're going to be experiencing a lot of spaciousness in the first part of 2019. So again, you shouldn't try to catch up, by the way. You know, it's important to do each practice for a little while, absolute minimum a week, preferably longer, depending on the practice, right? But we are kind of going through them at approximately the rate of one per week. And that's actually too fast, right? But if we did it any slower, then this online course would indeed take 4 years. So you should, review from the beginning at an even slower pace once we're done. But anyway, we're continuing with the second spaciousness practice, which is yukti number 18, or technique number 18 in the total count of the text, taught in verse number 44. So you don't need to keep all those numbers straight, just for those who like to track things. So the verse is in your chat window, and it goes like this. pṛṣṭhaśūnyaṃ mūlaśūnyaṃ yugapad bhāvayec śarīranirapekṣiṇyā śaktyā śūnyamanā bhavet. One may contemplate the space above and the space in the root simultaneously through the power that is independent of or does not rely upon the body. One's mind will become empty, open, and spacious. So let's go over it word by word, as we like to do. Or as I like to do. And the main reason for that is because there's a lot of translations of the VBT out there, and they have a lot of mistakes. So going through it word by word helps to convince the viewer of the accuracy of this particular translation, one hopes. So pṛṣṭhaśūnyaṃ means the void above, the upper void. It can also mean the void behind, but here it means the void above, or the space. Void is maybe just not the right word. It's lodged in my head probably because of being introduced to the text originally through Jaidev Singh's translation, which constantly uses void. But the open spaciousness above, we could say. And then mūlaśūnyaṃ is the open spaciousness at the root, at the mūla. Right, like mūladhara. Yugapad means simultaneous or simultaneously. Bhavayec means, here because of sandhi, there's some birds flying in the void right here. Bhavayec becomes bhavayec because of sandhi. One may meditate upon, or one may, or one should contemplate in this way. Yaha, one, a person. Cha and yaha, a person. Sharira, body. Nirapekṣiṇyā, without dependence upon. And this is an adjectival compound modifying śaktyā, which is the word shakti, but in the instrumental case. So śaktyā, by means of the shakti, by means of the power. Which power? The power that is sharira śarīranirapekṣiṇyā, that is not reliant upon the body. So what does this whole phrase mean, actually? What it means is that the shakti, or the power, the energy level, if you will, that we're accessing in the practice is not dependent on the body. Rather, it's the other way around. The body is dependent on this subtle underlying shakti, or power. So the whole phrase, śarīranirapekṣiṇyā śaktyā, means by the power, or by means of the power that is not dependent on the body, one becomes, right, bhavet at the end of the line, śūnyamanā, one becomes, or one enters into a state in which the mind, mana, or the heart mind, if you will, the locus of both thought and emotion, is open, spacious. Not necessarily empty in the sense of containing nothing, but open spaciousness. So I'll adjust the translation a bit. And those who are followers of Dzogchen are going to notice in this section of the text that the whole verbiage is very Dzogchen-like, which is interesting because this is, just when these ideas are fomenting, really. It's not due to influence one way or the other. We have these kind of ideas coming about on the Buddhist and on the Shaiva side around the same time period, because this is the 9th century when this text happens. So this is not evidence of borrowing from Buddhism. And in terms of these specific practices, we can't say for sure that the Buddhists were borrowing from the Shaivas, though that's more possible historically in this particular century than the other way around. So anyway, we can just say that there is a shared vocabulary in these Himalayan tantric traditions, flourishing in Kashmir, Ladakh, Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan, and regions a bit further as well, Assam. Shared vocabulary, but especially in these Himalayan tantric traditions. So anyway, let's do the practice. And again, it's a very simple practice to cue and a very subtle one to experience. And this practice, I should note, however, is simply, well, whether I should say simply or not, I don't know, but it is preparatory to the following practice in verse 45. So this practice is, in a sense, simply a prerequisite for getting to the practice in verse 45, as you'll see. Okay, so take a deep breath, as usual. It's always a good way to start. Relax the jaw completely, letting the muscles of the face and the scalp and the back of the head all go slack and soft. And now, simultaneously, not sequentially, but simultaneously, become aware of a sense of spacious openness in the region of the head and in the region of the base. So I have to speak them sequentially, but as you practice this in the following days, in the days to come, please do it simultaneously, becoming aware of this open spaciousness in the head and in the base of the body. So in the low belly, the region between the low belly and the sacrum, reaching down to the pelvic floor and indeed beyond. That's what we mean when we say the base. A feeling of open spaciousness near the base of the body and in the head. Now simply relax into the feeling of this open spaciousness above and below. Om. Once again, this is a rehearsal. You take more time with it in your home practice. But I would just want to emphasize one thing, which is that a lot of people find it easier to experience the spaciousness here in the head region and more difficult to experience the spaciousness down in the base. So one little trick I discovered that can help is if you imagine that the space in the base is a mirror of the space in the head. I mean, not imagine in the sense of think about, but there's a mirroring of this headspace in the base. A little bit more rhyming than I'm comfortable with, perhaps, but there it goes. Mirror the headspace in the base. So that can help a little bit, and indeed it takes time and cultivation to experience this open spaciousness in the part of the body that many people experience as dense. But there's no reason that you can't experience just as much spaciousness in the base of the body as in the head. It just takes more time, more cultivation for a lot of people. And that's because of the way that your, insects. The way that your brain tends to work is it tends to have an easier time imagining spaciousness where there are orifices in the body. For that matter, there's orifices down there too. Anyway, give it a try. Play with it, explore it, and in a week or maybe 10 days, whenever it happens, I'm not sure yet, we'll come to the next yukti. And I hope you continue practicing and reviewing and studying and going deeper. And as always, there's plenty of material to study in the Facebook group, Tantric Yoga Now. And there is also the YouTube channel where the same material is duplicated. There is material in Tantric Yoga Now which is not on the YouTube channel, by the way. And then also, as always, we want to thank the patrons on Patreon. My Patreon page is where people support me, and because of that support, every month I can continue to offer free content to the whole world. And the purpose of this is to educate people in classical tantric yoga from the primary sources, which is not something that most people have access to for free. And so it's a pleasure to do it. And I hope to see you in person sometime this year. Om. And on that last point, we have just released, I believe we've just released the 2019 calendar of events for my teaching schedule. So check it out. Om.